ago, you pulled over Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh in a traffic stop right here, and today you're getting a wonderful sign honoring that moment. Talk about how that makes you feel.
Well, I'm very honored for this sign and the recognition of what happened that day. I always wanted to be an ambassador for law enforcement to show what I did that day is what troopers and law enforcement officers do every day across our nation. And just happened to be that the divine intervention put me here at the right spot at the right time that day.
And you mentioned it at one point. You've done several talks about it, just doing your job.
Yes, it was just doing my job that day. You know, it's something you never envision yourself being a part of, just doing routine traffic stops. But it also drives the point home that routine traffic enforcement has benefits far beyond the safety issues of traffic enforcement.
And just talk about the emotions that you're feeling being back in this spot. Does it take you back 30 years ago?
Oh, it does. I mean, you know, it doesn't seem like it's been 30 years ago, but because I've told my story so many times and shared it with other groups, law enforcement and non-law enforcement groups, it's hard to believe that it's been 30 years. And yeah, it's an emotional thing to be involved in.
The big question, when you did the initial stop, I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this hundreds of times, but, you know, when you made the initial stop, you just stopped you for a plate. You know, you even think that you were being part of history at that time?
Oh no, the morning I stopped him, you know, I stopped him because he didn't have that license plate, that tag on the back of his vehicle. I had no indication at all that it was anything beyond that. And I didn't have any suspicions until I started talking to him and thinking maybe he had a stolen car, because he didn't have a plate, he didn't have a bill of sale, he didn't have insurance. And so I became suspicious that it might be a stolen vehicle, but whenever he went to his right rear pocket and retrieved that billfold and his jacket tightened up on the left side and I saw that bulge that looked like a weapon, then I knew I had a different situation.
And, you know, what are the odds that they would have kept him overnight? You know, because at that time they really didn't know who he was. They just had an idea. They didn't even know he was in jail up here.
Well, I say all that divine intervention ties in. You know, I had originally been given an assignment to report to Oklahoma City, and that assignment was canceled not even a half a mile after I had started south on the interstate from Perry, and turned around and came upon those ladies that were broken down in that little minivan that detained me there for a short time until I could get a wrecker there to help them. And by that happening, Tim McVeigh had passed by me unknowingly to me and was ahead of me. Had I not been detained at that assist, I would have been ahead of him. I would have never seen him. And then 2 days later, when he's still in jail, that's part of more of the divine intervention, because the next day, on a Thursday, he should have got out of jail early that morning, or at least saw the judge and set a bond, and he had some cash on him. He could have made bond. But the judge was tied up in a divorce case that day and didn't see any new arrestees. The next day, Friday morning, the judge would have seen new arrestees early, and the judge's son missed a school bus to go to a band function in Stillwater, and he had to take him to Stillwater, thus delaying court and delaying the time that McVeigh went before the judge. And because that further divine intervention, he was still in jail when the FBI named him as a suspect, and they could place a hold on him and he would never be out.
Charlie, tomorrow we honor the 30-year anniversary, and President Bill Clinton will be here along with a lot of other dignitaries. Are you going to be part of that ceremony tomorrow?
Well, I'll be there in support of the victims. I'm not going to have an active part, but I want to be there to support everyone involved.
How often is it do you recall that day, think wow, that really happened, you know?
Well, you know, I'm not sure that I recall it every day. You know, after I retired from the patrol, I was a sheriff for 16 years here in Noble County, and going in and out of the courthouse frequently as sheriff, I would often think of that time where he was coming out that west door, the picture you see on TV so often.
Is there anything else you want to add about this very momentous occasion today?
Well, I want to thank everybody involved. That our Representative Ty Burns was responsible for this sign being placed out here. Prior, you know, that wasn't possible to have a sign like this. unless you were honoring someone who had passed away. A change in the statute a few years ago allowed that to honor people that are still living, and that's why the sign is up there today. I'm very honored to have that.
Well, thank you so much for your service to our nation and to our state, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Charlie, appreciate it. Very nice. Were any family members be willing to speak to us today? I don't know if they're open to it, but yeah.
My
Sorry.
daughter,
Yeah,
they may be a little camera shy.
I can understand. We'll make it easy for them if they're open to it. Sure, no worries.
They're going to go, heck no, all those cameras.
This is your meal, man. Jill told me one of his kids was friends with Jill's daughter. Or something like that. Nope, maybe.
This is my wife.
Be easy on
Hi.
me.
Oh, I thought she'd be the easiest thing you've ever done.
All
The
right.
rest of them are camera shy.
No, I understand. I understand.
Ted and we're friends with Ted.
Sure. No, I heard that Jill Wolf. Do you know Jill Wolf by chance? I don't know. Jill said she knew somebody in the family. I can't remember who it was. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we'll have you kind of the same spot. You want a different side this time? Okay. Yeah.
Switch sides?
Sides, yeah.
Flip sides here. You want me over here and you over there?
Sure. That's fine. Okay. Just on the stand up. They're all pointing that way.
Get our good side.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you being open to it. Thank you so much. Okay. Huh? I don't know.
We'll just try to have you face the middle
Okay.
of the cameras if you can, and then
Yeah,
get
that's
everybody,
fine.
I guess.
All right.
Okay. Let me know when you're good, Dave. Everybody solid. You're up? Okay. Can you just start by saying and spelling your first and last name?
Beverly Hanger, Charlie's wife.
How do you spell your first name?
Beverly.
Nice. Okay.
Easy.
What's it like for you to be out here, kind of be in this spot?
Well, I've been working on this for about 10 years now. I started with our first state representative, Dennis Casey, and he looked into it and he calls me. He says, well, I hate to tell you this, but the law says you have to be deceased. I said, well, I guess we can't going to be doing this for quite a long time. And so then the statute got changed. I knew it got changed, and that's when our new representative, Ty Burns, was elected. And so he came to a troop meeting here for the retired troopers about 4 years ago. And after he got through speaking, I pulled him aside and said, this is what I've been trying to do. I was trying to keep it quiet and not even tell Charlie about it, but that's kind of hard to do. And so he's been working on it for about 4 years now, and then he called me last June, told me it all gotten signed, and the statute went into effect November the 1st, I believe. And so, Charlie's a very, very humble man. He doesn't like a lot of attention being brought to himself, so he said, I don't like all this stuff. And I said, well, you didn't have anything to do with it. I was doing it. And I said, and not only that, but I didn't do it just for you. I said, I did it really for generations to come. Because when these kids that are young and ones that haven't even been born will drive by this sign and they start to Google your name, then they will realize what took place here. And I said, they also realize that there are a lot of evil people in this world, and it got stopped right here to where no one else could ever get hurt again. So I'm really proud of him, but he's just how he is. And I couldn't have asked for a better husband, and it's just been great.
Actually, one more real quick. I mean, is it emotional for you coming out here at all, or is it just kind of,
It really is. Yeah. Once the legislation got passed, we have a retired troopers convention at Fort Gibson Lake every year. And, you know, Ty was trying to keep it quiet. And I said, well, I called him. I said, why don't you come over to the convention and, you know, give him a copy of the statute. And so what he did instead, he's such a great man, he actually made a replica of the sign and brought it over there. And so we did keep that secret from Charlie. So I have video of that, and, you know, Charlie gets more emotional than I do, you know, because he's a lot closer to what happened then. And so, yeah, I'm very proud of him. And, yeah, it is emotional to see it. But I said, you know, it's going to be here forever. And that, to me, is a great thing.
Beverly, thank you so much.
You're so
Appreciate
welcome.
you, man. Thank you a ton. That was perfect. Wonderful. State rep out here?
That did this, yeah.
I'm probably
Yeah.
good. I just have like a minute and a half for this. So
I'll say, yeah.
I'm probably okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, we can go ahead and
yeah,
start.
no, appreciate
We
it.
can go ahead and
We good, yeah. However they want to do it. Okay, I got yours.
You're the man.
Yep.
Thank you, man.
No worries. Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, no problem. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I shot.
Well, hey, everybody, again, this is an amazing part. I really appreciate everybody coming. I'm Ty Burns, State Representative for House District 35. This is actually John Piper's area, and I hijacked it just to do this with Charlie. Bev, I was elected 7 years ago, and Beverly talked to me about this, and she's been working on getting this done for years. And my predecessor, Dennis Casey, could never get it done, but I did. So if you know Dennis, make sure you tell him I did something he could never get done. So, but in seriousness, we had to change the law to figure out how to do this. You know, it would be deceased to have a memorial bridge or highway, anything like that, honor people. Well, obviously, Charlie's not passed away. So, 4 years ago, maybe we changed the law. The federal representatives wanted to name a highway after President Trump. So we changed the law. Trump's law. Anyway, we changed the law. I was able to get this done. And it really is an honor. Like I said, I've been working with Beverly on this for several years. And there's nobody more deserving this than Charlie. When I hear him talk about the apprehension of the #1 terrorist in Oklahoma history, it's moving, right? The first time I heard him talk about it, and he's nonchalant about it, and he never makes it about himself. Not once. Never have. He never makes it about himself. He don't even like this right now. He keeps telling me, and Beverly like this, he don't like it. He wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Beverly. And thank you, Beverly, for everything you've done to get this done. And it is my honor, Charlie, to do this for you. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you for everything.